Minutes late tonight. Had to get some water and ended up talking to my wife and lost track of times. I brought the forks tonight. Pretty stoked. Pretty big to eat with, but it's got like a hole in it with a gem in there. Oops. See if I can flip this around here. I don't know if you guys saw, but we got some carbon dates back. Pretty exciting. 20,000 years old on one of these jars like this. This one doesn't have anything in it, but hey, Doc, what's going on, buddy? I mean, there's dirt and stuff in there, which, there could be organic materials if it's looked through with a microscope. But yeah, it was interesting. We have samples taken from this one here. I brought this down to the lab when we went down there, and so there's been scrapings, and we confirmed it had organic material in it as well, or a high carbon content. So should be able to get a date out of that one too. It'll be interesting to see if it's consistent with the other. This one I'm almost sure has organic material too. We haven't tested it yet. A lot of these are just really stinky when you ugh, open them up. Except this big one, I don't know. It must have been for something not so bad. Oh yeah, I can show you kind of an example. Let me grab my light here, maybe. Oh yeah, I got my black light somewhere here. There it is. Let me turn these lights off. This one over here looks really cool. And you can see how they light up here. This one's like a really interesting stone. Definitely ad man. It is. It's serious. Hey Twitch, what's going on, buddy? Yeah, it has been a minute. Gosh, time goes by so quick. I got a 4-year-old now, so I don't even know. I don't even know what to say about that. No, he's doing really good. I'm stoked. Yeah, we've definitely been busy though. Almost got a whole nother book ready to launch. I'm super excited. We documented like 8 different pretty large scale excavations. And so got the entire documentation of all of those. We've got the science, the dates, and yeah, it should be pretty cool. I still not done. It's about almost 200 pages right now, so I'm not sure if I'm going to do a. I'll try. There it is. Gonna do too much more. I don't want it to be quite as big as Forbidden Relics. I mean, the Relics books will always be big because they're just like a catalog of pieces. But at the same point, I want these to be more like the other books, Anunnaki or something like that. We got the X-rays back on these. Oh, that's calcite too. I had no idea. Never saw that in there before. Turn the light back on here. Yeah, I had an interview with Matt Bale here recently, and I had him smell one of those jars during the interview. It was hilarious. the composition of these forks are very bizarre. Like this one has a fair amount of iron in it. This one is like 50% silver, tin, and iron as well. Really bizarre way it's made. Very strong and very sharp. Yeah, I know K25's fake. I'm so sorry, you guys. I feel so well, I mean, I'm relieved actually. I was praying, I didn't have a lot of confidence in it, but man, if that was real, that was going to be a big problem. Seeing some of this stuff and how I don't know. It's just I'm glad it's fake. Yeah, I did delete a lot of my videos from that, and I haven't gotten them off of here yet, but I did put a video on Instagram today explaining, you know, how ridiculous that guy is. He should be he should do some community service. He said it was all about the pollution and stuff, but I mean, it cost us a lot of time to just say it was all okay for awareness. Is I don't know. That's not encouraging people to do good things, and that's he should definitely be held accountable for that in some respects. Hysteria is not a joke. Hey, that's great, man. Keep lurking. I appreciate that. That's that's all you can do, I guess. Really, is just at least take it in for what it's worth. And I was such a skeptic for so long. I tormented those guys down there, and then it's like I think when I seen the petroglyphs in the cave form and how excited those guys got, and like how much footage and ridiculous reporting they did every day, and like what it took to dig it out, and just I mean I don't know that's pretty ridiculous to carve petroglyphs and like caves into the ground. Like could happen, but never seen anything like this before. Pieces like this make me really wonder because it's like a lot of you can see here where it got damaged in shipping, and then what the surface looks like. I sure hope so, Tank. Man, it's pretty obscene. The pieces do emit an energy when they're fresh out of the ground or when they're being dug up. Guys will have to go home and deal with things like it's a lot of dizziness and weird. I don't know if it's the electromagnetic frequencies or what. Um, but when I got this new recent box, I mean, they had just done the expedition and sent it out, and holy cow, it was overwhelming. I almost went to the hospital thinking I was sick or something and getting some sort of problem, and then I remember back when I first started collecting that this had happened. So it's really hard to say. I mean, there's reports of this about the Egyptian relics as well having electromagnetic frequency and its potential. Sacrificial rune, the blue one. This one? Oh, the square. I'm trying to think. Circle or sphere. Interesting. This thing here has a. I can't get it apart because there's a magnet and it's quite strong. Once you get it, there we go. I'm gonna bring it over to the light so you guys can see this better. Maybe if it'll focus. There we go. What's really interesting about this piece, I don't know if you guys have heard me talk about the geopolymer, and so I believe that they were able to, make this stone. Well, you can see this is that orange stone, like these things here are made of, right? Clearly that orange stone, but it's in with this other type. I think that this thing had the original stone maybe had damage on it or wasn't complete. Maybe it cracked or something, but it looks to me like they patched it. Um, I mean, don't get me wrong, the Earth does do certain things like this, but I believe that we'll be able to verify that with a closer look in the future. Like this piece here, it's got a lot of fine carving, but you can hardly see it. And a very interesting specimen of quartz or whatever this is, some sort of quartz, I'm guessing, especially how it materialized here. The way that thing goes in there, and it's just it literally goes in and you turn it and it like locks into place. Yeah, Bill, it could be. I mean, I've heard so many rumors about Iraq and stargates and that sort of stuff over in the Middle East. I guess I should say, not isolate Iraq. It's not just there, but heard those type of things. And gosh, well, I don't know if you saw on one of our videos here a couple few weeks ago, but they found like a large looking stargate. This is a telescope. Here, let me see if I can. This one's really hard to see through because the hole's not very big. Or maybe I just don't have a very steady hand. But it's interesting, there's a thing called, I think it's the Narubi or Narabi lens from Saudi Arabia. And it's a known, it's like actually the oldest officiated lens out there. It has like a one times magnification. And I believe this is very similar. It has a very similar inclusion also down the middle, which is peculiar. We found multiple different telescopes. Some function with concaved, rounded lenses. Some have obsidian in the end of them, almost like they're for looking at the sun. Um, let's see here. I got one right here I can show you as well. And this one has carvings on the lens. So when you look through, it's maybe, here we go. Yeah. Hey, look at that. That's a pretty good shot. Hey, Kathleen. They copied the British. Um, I don't know how to say your name, but as far as where did we find it is Tula, Hidalgo, Mexico. And we just got some dates back. We've got multiple dates. Like this piece here on the table is a looks like a ring. This is a metal ring, but then there's this. It's a skull, like bead, and in the bead, the metal is fastened with a resin. So we took that resin. We also dated this here. This is a geopolymer. They make this. It's not a stone from the earth carved like this. It's made somehow, um, and it has showings inside that it's engineered, and so you're able to see there's a binder, and so we dated that binder, and from two different samples from two different digs, and you can see. I'll show you here that all these little pits and pores. They're on the top. They're on the bottom. They're on this side. But if you were to break this open and cut it down the middle here, there's no pores. It's pure like white or yellow all the way through. And so they bubbled on the surface. These were formed and then they bubbled kind of like an epoxy or something. So that's what the material is. There's something called oh, if I can remember the name here, it's Fayus or Fayers or something. It's an Egyptian material that they use to create statues and small artifacts and things like that. Um, but it's very similar. So, and there's also like Roman concrete. There's a lot of different geopolymers that we have in history. So, I have not used that one. I joked about it with my buddy because I do play chess, not a ton, but yeah, Alex. I mean that's the thing, right? These boards have been documented. I've documented them via. One of them came out of the cave at 14, 15 feet in the ground. Um, age old game of chess in India. It goes back to like I think it's the 8th century. But this material again is something that was engineered. So how it was engineered and shaped, it was definitely cooled at room temperature. We don't have this type of crafting today, I don't believe. Someone may prove me wrong on that, but I don't believe that we can make this stone. There's a couple of reasons too, like it has a flash phosphorescently with the black light here. I'll show you that the actual stone itself, and they've also been able to embed this luminescent material into it, which is really an interesting take as well. I should have grabbed the light before I did this. Hang on. There it is. Okay. I was close. So like this piece here obviously has it like it's almost like it's painted on. Some of the pieces it's like that. Then there's pieces where it's literally embedded into the material itself. Let me find a good example here, like this. Uh, Here we go. You can see it change. And then if this is the stone itself here now. And that glow on there is quite interesting. Like what caused that to happen. We do find calcite and things like that, but and obviously that's what this red is. But everything has this effect some way or another. It's very, very detailed for whatever purpose. How they could have seen this in ancient times, very bizarre. The time it would take to go through and do all of that is ridiculous. I don't know. But as far as how, it's not necessarily that complex in terms of how, but how they formed it and they got the amount of information and carvings into the surface. Clearly, it's not AI. I mean, you can put things into AI and you'll see it's not going to come out this original and this unique with full on languages and that sort of stuff. Like this stuff is not only unique in that respect, but it's also got a lot of really close relation to the proto languages like Proto Sumerian, the cuneiform stuff, as well as the hieroglyphics. Like I think it's called Sinaitic or Proto Sinaitic. But they were clearly masters of stone and forming and sculpting. And I mean, they were able to get light to transmit through to this skull somehow. I mean, oops. What's really bizarre is that there's been multiple of these devices found that create this power. How they create it, I mean, we've had one where we tested it for almost 2 weeks, and all of them have this hole. Like what the heck? Is it a vessel for water or something like that? There was a theory that was brought forward that it's possible that the electric current, because we have x-rays of these now, You could see that the insulation, there is no modern insulators or anything like that running through this. They're using the device itself as an insulator. So, because it's like a ceramic, I mean, that's what they used to use, was ceramic insulation and a lot of electrical stuff. So it's interesting to see them use the entire piece. But because of that, it may affect the water. Uh, we're going to run tests on it and find out. I mean, replicas of what? Like that's what I thought at first too. But there's so much unique art here, and it's all so extremely detailed with historically relevant information, techniques like these mosaics that are many pieces of stone put together. All of the glue, the resin, even the geopolymers itself are all testing consistently at over 10,000 years old, between 10 and 40,000 years. Um, it's definitely not enough to say, yeah, this stuff is what it is, but we're continuing to look deeply because it's very, very likely that there is a much deeper truth here to this. Yeah, Robert. I mean, if you could print geopolymer like this, that would be a logical explanation. But in this case, oops, let me pop on this other light here. Sorry. I mean, you just can't print this type of material, let alone how heavy this is, let alone would the printer be able to get that kind of detail and the depths in which it is. I mean, maybe some crazy printer. I shouldn't say it's impossible, but I've never seen this. I know they are building houses and stuff now with like concrete and printers. So if we're going to move to Mars, it's definitely a plausibility, but it doesn't explain all the intricate details and how it was conceived. And what else is crazy is, there's multiple states in Mexico where this stuff is being found. Like this stuff here on this shelf is from Abuelos de Jalisco. You can see it looks clearly different in how they utilize the stone than these pieces, all from Tula. So that being said, hundreds of miles away, they're talking about the same story with the same type of stuff, but yet slightly different depictions, but clearly the same type of stuff from different states. So you're telling me that these artisans would get the whole state together and be like, yeah, we're gonna do it this way, guys, and don't put this on there, because no, somehow it's stayed so consistent. Um, I mean, there's no game of telephone that's that good. I'm sorry. Yeah, the ancient Ouija board. I was just showing that actually. Here's the. I always forget what they call this thing. Yeah, I can open the boxes for sure. We got a lot of them. This one's pretty crazy. I just have to be really careful because I got way too many things in this room. You see, Customs drilled this one. This is a great example, actually. Thank you, Customs. All right, I'm on the record, guys. I said thank you to Customs. Now they drilled this, but you can see inside of this. Oops, sorry, I flipped it the wrong way. Um, how white it is in there. Yeah, and that's just it. Like all this stuff has, crazy amount of patina or on the surface, things like manganese that we've tested. But inside, it's just this white powdery stuff, oftentimes. So, like ceramic, right, or something like that. But the bubbles on the surface is really the key when you break it open, and there's no pores, and the pores are all over the surface like this on a fully rounded side. Even if you were to cut this It's going to be just pure white inside, solid. They drilled it, yeah, probably for drugs or bombs. They might have seen stuff in it. Knowing that these things were casted, they may have put seeds or different things inside of it. It might just be random. I've had a lot of different customs things. I've asked them so many times about this stuff, trying to get clarification. It's like a game of chicken or something. Like, I'm addicted. Please tell me to stop if I need to. Not really, but really, it would be nice to get clarification from it more than once every 10 years, because that's how long ago was the last clarification, which stated anything with an alien or a UFO on it was fair game. Even if it was dug out of the ground, someone had to have put that there recently. It does not follow suit to pre-Columbian stuff. So if it's in Mexico and it's that, it's fine. Did they break their drill bit? The ones that we ordered, Adman, got seized. And as far as the Nazca mummies now, I mean, there's a tremendous amount of research going down on them. They are, and there's full dicoms at tridactyls.org, dodecahedrons. Not any Roman ones, no. Everything that I have is from Mexico. I mostly just collected crystals, and I started collecting carvings, like different carvings from Vietnam and stuff out of like different crystals, sapphire and ruby. And yeah, could be one. I mean, it's very interesting. It doesn't have the traces that it was fired, so it's kind of like mud that was fired, but I don't think it was. I think it was done wet and then just dried, more like a concrete. And there are. Let me see if I can show a better example in this vessel here. Actually, maybe even this one. But this is a really soft stone. To do this type of work to a piece of calcite like this is definitely not easy. I'm not sure what that is off the top of my head, Joe. I've heard that name before, but I wouldn't be able to tell you off without looking at something. Yeah, Booga markings for sure. Finding that on a lot of things, a lot of things. We documented it back in January, but it really started to come out heavy. And the more we do research wise on it, it's starting to become apparent that what it could be. And a lot of these things have Saturn influence on them. You can see the planet Saturn here, for instance. This is a crystal game board here. It broke at one point, but you can see the game clearly still. No idea what game it is, but oh yeah, chimeras. Yes, lots of that type of stuff, Joe. Like tons actually. We've got the Lamassu, different griffins. I can show you here. I believe this is Anzu and Tiamat, probably. I'm guessing because of the cow, Hathor, right? It's interesting. She's got her head on the alien species over here. This probably is the Adamu, maybe, or the Ijiji or something like that. It's interesting, though, especially with the beings up above. I don't think it's Gilgamesh. The head shape and everything's different here. So I think there was a humanization at one point, and Gilgamesh may have been later, or maybe the stories of of it humanized him just like Zeus and things like that. We have this guy here, which is interesting. This was found, 4 or 5 years ago. Oops, it's upside down. Sorry. But you can see it's this guy with this fin, double fin, on a throne, maybe, holding a trident. That could be Poseidon. And on the back of it, it shows the pyramids, possibly in operation. Thanks, Heather. I don't sell a lot of things, but I do have an eBay page with some stuff on it. I got way too many pieces, and I still want to be able to get more and research it. So it's been a juggle, I guess you could call it. Really, really tough. Really don't want to sell anything ever. I met a guy here recently from the Miko-chan, and he has every piece he's ever dug up. I mean, this is a warehouse. I actually posted the video. You guys will be able to check it out there on our YouTube channel. But he's got the collection. I just am. I don't. I'm not made of money, so how he pulled that off, I really don't know. How I pulled this off, I really don't know. It's insane. I just collected a few pieces to see if they were real or not, and then this happened. Yeah, but it's cool though. I definitely have some closure on it. Got closure on K25. It's been a good couple weeks. Seeing a lot of these dates come back. 20,000-year-old stuff out of a canopic jar type thing. I mean, that and coupled with the other stuff like this ring and the other items, it's really it's a good thing. I definitely feel that there was multiple resets. The three ground floors that they have to dig through to get to this stuff. In many cases, it makes a lot more sense now for sure. I've spent probably between 1 and 2 million, Jeremy. We've built multiple collections. It's not all just in this room or with me. I've ended up helping other people and doing things to. I mean, I get offered all these pieces. I'm doing this research, and they're like, "Oh, do you want this and do you want that?" And it's literally really tough. I mean, to say no to some of this stuff and not document it for my books or for the internet first is really really tough. And if you're not buying them, you're not getting shown them. So they show me a lot of things first because I buy, and because of that, it really pushed me into selling some of them so I could continue to be where I needed to be able to be shown these pieces like I am. And that's kind of the real. It makes it tough because I can't keep them all. Yeah, thanks for coming, Jeremy. It is super cool. I mean, like I told my wife at the start of it, I said, "Honey, I was paying $700 for these dragons from Vietnam that some guy made. There's not even any tattooing or any cool card, nothing, So obviously, I just continued collecting as usual for a while, and then they started to really get some of these large findings and stuff. Yeah, Justin. I mean, my wife said the same thing, and I honestly thought she was probably right for a couple years. I was a skeptic for 3 years. Now I've got 6 books and dozens of scientific articles that have shown that there's a real high likelihood of antiquity, including repeatable, verifiable optical things like scanning electron microscopes that can clear as day see it. So until someone brings some evidence, then I don't think I did get scammed because I've looked for this evidence for 5 years and it just doesn't seem like it exists. I mean, one test after another just keeps coming back with genuine results. How can you argue that? I mean, no, you can, and you will, and I get it. That's fine. I argued it for a long time myself, but at some point, if you research it, you will see. You will see. So Isaiah, that's a great question. I really like that question. I believe that there was species before us, like the Ajiji or like the Anunnaki talk about the Ajiji. that got really advanced. And I think that they created space travel and ships. And that's why in the Vedic text over in India, we have these complex ships that were discussed. We have them talked about in certain books that are, part of the apocryphal texts. But as far as aliens go from other planets, like Marvin the Martian type stuff, I mean, I think a lot of that has been brainwashed to us to get us to not know that this is a real thing. So if this does ever come out, that they can put a cap on it, and they try really hard. I mean, you follow the comment sections and stuff like that. I mean, it's a split, and when you start really looking deep into these comments, it's not a very great chain of command. In terms, a lot of people won't ever respond to you. Like, you try to have constructive conversations with people who criticize this or try to compare results and analysis, and it's non-existent. Booga is not fake. That's completely wrong, Gwendolyn. That I know the team well. The gentleman who's working with Jaime, David Roldan, he's wrote books on these pieces specifically. And numerous of my friends have gone down there and done research and looked at this thing. It's been dated. I believe that it's absolutely genuine, and the chipset that's on it started to appear in a lot of these objects. We actually documented it first before it crashed in January. You can find the video on our YouTube page here. But this chip design could be the mark of the demiurge or the mark of the beast, and you know maybe not. I could be completely wrong. Maybe it is what it is, but I believe there's a very high probability that that would be the case because of the amount of Saturn depiction, the amount of the bull, and the different things that we're seeing here, um, like that. That would lead me to believe that that's accurate. The Crusades, the Spanish came over here. They got rid of the pagan worship. Well, pagan worship in the Bible was those like the Israelites who turned to the bull again. And the bull, these bull horns here, these bull horns on these beings. Let me see if I can find an example here for you. Like you would see on Thoth or Hathor in Egypt, they they're the bull horns, And a lot of people like the Vikings, the barbarians, a lot of extinct things had this, even Anu, the god of the Anunnaki, or the most high of the Anunnaki. He was symbolized with a symbol that is the horned crown. And all the Anunnaki had horned crowns. Deep diver, I wish you had some evidence to back your statement. I would be $5,000 richer if you did, but you don't, and I can pretty much assure you of that. And if you do, then let's get on live together right now. And why don't you just show me your evidence? Because I've been looking for a long time, my friend. Oldest piece dated, Chris. There's Geopolymer, this material here, not from this piece specifically. That's at 40,000 years. The oldest one that I have sitting here right now is this bronze loop. It's got. Let's see if I can get a better shot here for you. Oops, the light reflections are rough. Maybe there we go. But it's got that black substance, as you can see on the ends of the loops, that goes into that skull. That black substance was sampled. It was tested under a scanning electron microscope for any through an EDS to make sure that there was no, modern components, and then they carbon dated it, and that was 30. It was like 37,800 years or something like that. So those are the oldest. We just got back inside of like these canopic jars here. For instance, there was one that had quite a bit of residue at the bottom. It was scraped and sampled. Just did a video tonight. You can check it out on our YouTube. And but the carbon dates are 19,000. I think it was 270 on that. Yeah, Joseph, that's exactly what I said. Like, um, or maybe you're not saying it like that, but I said like, wow, 37,000. Yeah, right. Like that seems too old. Carbon dating is only good to 50,000. However, we do dig through 3 ground floors, and the variance in age from Abuelos and this and the ceramics and all the things, it does cover an extremely long period of time from things that we are used to dating. So like the resins and things have much better accuracy than the geopolymers because of the dead carbon and stuff like that. No, Howard, I actually own a cannabis company. I'm just a guy off the street that when I saw these, I collected rocks and minerals and crystals and things like that. I've been to gem shows my whole life. Never did I see anything like this just sitting there for sale, I would have bought it. And I did as soon as I saw it because I was just like, holy cow, I don't care if this is fake or not. These are cool. And the fact they glow in the dark and have all these, pieces and things, I was sold. I didn't care at the time. I thought it was all fake at first. I really just set out to collect some of them and prove it that way because it was bogus that people were getting scammed as souvenirs or whatever, but they were telling them that this is ancient. It rubbed me the wrong way. People grave robbing or whatever. No matter what was going to come out of this, I felt like someone was being wronged, so I pursued it pretty hard, and now I have quite a bit of evidence that says that it might be genuine. I told Matt Bale on the Limitless podcast here a few weeks ago I was about 90% sure. Um, I'm sticking with 90% because uh, you know I'm just a guy off the street. My research is really just a drip in the pool. But I do trust these universities that are doing our testing, and I do trust the scientists that I work with and have paid to give me advice and to counsel me on these things. So overall, I definitely have 90% confidence, and we're continuing to work for it. I think once we do about 20 to 50 more. Oh, I do, Joseph. Yeah. Here, I'll show you. Hang on. Let me turn the light back on. Um, I think as we do more dates, though, and we get a good average, we'll really see, the truth come to light because knowing that we can date this geopolymer, we can do a lot of tests from a lot of different pieces of this material. And because of that, it should give us an idea if it's fairly accurate. Also, we can do even better separation where we separate the binder carbon from any dead carbon that might be included in the limestone. And when we do that, we'll get much more accurate results. Um, what was I going to just share? Oh, yeah, this is an interesting thing here. See this being here with the 4 arms, 4 leg, or I'm sorry, 6 arms and 4 legs rather. There's a Gnostic coin from the 2nd century or 3rd century, it's possible, that depicts this being, and it's known as the Sophia, which I thought was quite interesting because of the amount of depictions of Venus and Baphomet, which means wisdom. Sophia is the wisdom of God, supposedly in the Gnostic texts. Um, and so she very well may be. She's the one that created the demiurge. The demiurge may be the mark of the beast or the mark of the demiurge. This may be her AI type creation that she. They say that the mark of the beast, you'll have to have it if you want to spend any money or receive any money at some point, and that'll be the mark. And it's very plausible that this chipset here might be that. Just a gut feeling. I mean, I could be completely wrong. That's based off just what I've seen off these pieces, not any sort of concrete anything. So, yeah, as above, so below, Isaiah. You're totally right. And how that all came about with Levi's book there in the 1300s, and how the Templars kept talking about it. And gosh, you know, it definitely fits the bill in some respects, if that's the case. And especially with how the Mayans tracked Venus so carefully. Another interesting one as well is the feathered serpent. Let me find a depiction of, we've got this bird here, which is like Horus or Ra. And then we've got, let me see if I can find the other bird. There we go. I think he's on here if I recall correctly. Oh no, this is the lion. Oh no, he's here. Yeah. This guy. You guys may have seen this guy before. What's his name? Anyone know this guy's name? Type it in the chat. I'm curious to see what people think his name is. I want you to look at something though, like this material here around his face. And also this thing on his head. It looks like feathers, maybe, like he looks like a bird, right? Well, we found a piece, and I don't think I have. Let me see here. But nonetheless, we found a piece where it has this exact head, but it's attached to a dragon's body. And so we believe that this is the feathered serpent. And it would make a lot of sense. The feathered serpent is said to have taken a man's form. And that I believe is that form. That would be with the Lakota and the Sioux and the birdmen that the Native Americans talk about. There's a huge mystery that goes into this, and that's how on earth the Aztecs, the Inca, and the Mayan all talked about the feathered serpent, Quetzalcoatl. Yeah, exactly. He was everywhere. He seemed to come and pass the pine cone. He's depicted passing the pine cone and almost every depiction. What's really interesting on this brass vessel, he's holding the handbag. Oh, he's not passing a pine cone, but what is that right in front of him? Some sort of weird sphere. And the sphere is talked about in the Pistis Sophia, that there was a reign of the sphere. So we feel that reign of the sphere might have been the demiurge's reign. And yeah, this guy here has 4 large horns coming up, which is something of a reminiscence to Anki, which is interesting. Yes, I'm not a religious guy at all. I was very anti-religious because the corporation of it just destroys me inside. But the book and the history lesson, I always wanted to like have some like one-on-ones with pastors and stuff, which I actually just got that opportunity recently. It was so amazing to have just an off the record with a pastor. It was like 7-hour conversation. He's going to read the Pistis Sophia for me, which is such a heartfelt thing because, really, he told me that the pastor school he went to told him specifically not to touch those Gnostic books, that they were devil worship, and it was really bad news. And the Pistis Sophia is written a lot in Jesus's words, and it's from a lot of his disciples and people that were there when supposedly he came back and taught his disciples after his death. It's talked about in the book of Luke also, which definitely gives the Pistis Sophia more validity, because that to me was the part that is like, oh, he came back after his death and taught people. That seems kind of, but the fact that it talks about it there is really interesting. And but that book, if you guys are interested in this stuff, it's the one to really read. It talks about these spheres and the reign of the sphere, and that could very well be the mark of the beast and the demiurge. As far as are they real, Francisco, that's what I've set out to figure out. We have dozens of carbon dates, as much as 40,000 years old now. A lot of them between 10 and 20,000 years. A lot of them. We have patina analysis on many pieces through scanning electron microscope and EDS. we've determined that a lot of these materials, like this blue stone here and this yellow stone here, are created and manufactured like a concrete. They're not a stone out of the ground. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but there's a lot of iron ore inside of it. They are able to control the strength of this very, very well. They've made benches and large 150-pound cups, tables. As far as how they're acquired and how I can get this and what museum I robbed, sorry, I'm not trying to skip questions. Um, the way this works is Mexico released a letter that states anything with UFOs or aliens, that sort of stuff on it is obviously modern if it was pulled out of the ground in Mexico. So anything with that coming out of Mexico is not considered pre-Hispanic. It's not their jurisdiction. It passes through, no problem. And clearly, this is proof. I've had many of these inspected by customs, almost all of them. Never once have they ever said a single thing about it, which is crazy considering, but maybe they don't know. I can't say for sure. I've been told by the elder Toltecs that they know. One of them worked for the INAH for 6 years, and that's how he's so knowledgeable of where to find this stuff. That's where some of these, very royal items have surfaced because he knows from working there and stuff. He said that the American archaeologists would separate these items because there was no place in history for them. Hey, thanks, Chris. That's awesome. I wasn't even looking. That's great. So, yeah, Mar, I said the same. I challenge you to prove yourself. Put your money where your mouth is on this one. I tried, and I'm deep at this point. I would love to hear your evidence if you have some. Yeah, Heather, that's where I'm at, and there's no push from the government to do that, and so I tried to just essentially get enough pieces to put together a small museum or exhibition. Really just like to have them. My grandfather had a museum, so I thought it would be kind of cool. He collected Native American stuff at the time, back in the mid 1900s in the Idaho area. It is a chessboard. Yeah, we found numerous games and chessboards. This thing weighs, I mean, I can't even. It's like 120, 140 pounds. The board comes off of here. I believe this board is alabaster. Someone asked about the alabaster, calcite. Um, I'm not 100% sure what this is, but a lot of that type of very soft 3.5-ish type Mo stones. Death. If Mexico would say, "Yeah, Mr. Forrest, these items are genuine. You shouldn't have them. Please give them back," I would give them right now. Mark my words. I want nothing more than these items to end up in a museum. I'm either going to do it myself or I will give them to the Mexican government to do so themselves. Like, I am not sitting here trying to hoard these items. I have published them in book after book after book. I put them on my website for free. I've made many YouTube videos. I'm just a cannabis owner, business owner from Idaho. Like, I don't, or I live in Washington. They don't do that stuff in Idaho, but I'm initially from Idaho, and yeah, it's. I mean, I'm just going where the science goes at this point with it, and hopefully we can have the carbon dating claims. Go to my website under carbon dating under research, or you can go to our newest video on YouTube or Instagram. That's from the inside of one of these jars, not these ones specifically, but one of these calcite jars that have organic material inside, likely organs or something like that. Prove it on here. I. Uh, I'm not going to do that on here because I don't have any of the paperwork down here with the items. You can watch the Matt Vale Limitless podcast where I presented this ring with the carbon dating on it. I don't have it here. I'll definitely bring one of the papers next time just for you, Marb. But yeah, they're published on my website for free, so feel free to check it out. The Bible does talk about it very clearly, C note, as well as the apocryphal texts like Enoch and Ezekiel, and actually quite a few bring in things like this. The talk of the Queen of Heaven, or Ashara, I think her name is. Um, yeah, it's Sophia, it's Inanna, it's Ishtar. It's the reason we have Easter. It's overcoming Ishtar. This is her deal. I'm fairly confident she was the consort of Ra, the cow, and that's why we have all this bull worship everywhere. The cult of Venus. And was she Lucifer? Did they rebrand Lucifer as a male because the female fell and they wanted to get rid of it altogether in the church? Very plausible. They may have. She may be Lucifer. She may have created the demiurge, or the control, the mark of the beast. It may be a technology. It may be AI. I'm not trying to say AI is the Antichrist, or that type of mark, but it could be related. I wouldn't close my mind to it, I guess, at this point in time. Yeah, C note. I thank JJ Hertalk for this. He's the author of Keys of Enoch. And if it wasn't for his book, there's no way I'd be talking about this like this. There's no way I would have been entrapped in the dogma of alien theory for sure. There's just no way. But at this point, after reading his book, The Pistis Sophia, yeah, yeah, it doesn't have anything. Catholicism might be the problem. Free. I mean, a lot of the big religions might be the problem now, even though their core values aren't. It's the corporation that is. The money's the root of all evil. So the fact that these large corporations are succumbed with so much money, it corrupts them from within, and here we go, right? So yeah, yeah. No, the way that was, I mean, the Romans, they're the ones who killed off the Christ, and then they became the Catholics, and they're also the ones who murdered all the Cathar people, and that's another story that needs to be talked about. The Cathar, oh man, I mean, it makes my stomach turn, to be honest with you. Like, it is probably the most it makes what's happening in the Middle East right now look like nothing, in my opinion. Like, we are living in a beautiful time in comparison to that, because they took every one of those people out and burned them at the stake. The Cathar people believed that there was two gods, that there was an evil god and a good god, and the evil god was an imposter, likely the god in the Old Testament who demanded worship, and the good god is, the ineffable, the light, the non-dualistic. Yeah, Cathar. Yeah, look them up. There's a Paul Wallace does a pretty good documentary. I think maybe Johnny Enoch had one too. There's a few pretty good ones out there with him, or with them rather, I should say. I read Shapeshifter and said them. I was like, oh yeah, those guys. It sure is golden. It sure is. I really truly believe that. And Heather, no, no. Luckily, these items, for whatever reason, lose their charge after a period of time. I think the pyramids have something to do with it. These things might be directly connected to the energy of the pyramids. I'm not sure, but when we unbox them and when they're digging them up, it can definitely cause a lot of nausea, swimmy head. And I didn't think that that was a thing, but it started happening to the point where it's like I knew that's what it was for sure, just from process of elimination. Yeah, Dead Sea Scrolls do, Mick, and that's because we have two gods, but one of those gods is a female, I think, and or the creation of, and I'm not exactly sure how that works with the demiurge and Sophia, but it's definitely this symbol, the opposing pyramids, the Star of David. It has a lot to do with this, and I really think that that shows the opposition of God, and with Saturn being so predominant with this throughout history, and I mean, that's a historically correct thing, the god of time. So So maybe the computer, maybe this source creates the maybe that's the the Lucifer was the architect or whatever. So maybe this was what he used to create with, because essentially those fallen angels, they cut themselves off from God's light, and so they had to create their own technology and things to mimic that. And I believe that's what the Boogosphere is part of that technology. And these items, I don't know if they're part of that technology specifically, but they're definitely from the era in which that technology was around. And these might be the stone idols used to worship those gods. And they mimicked them. I'm not 100%. It's something that a lot of people ask, and it's tough to say if who made these. It really is vendetta. That Trinity, and the fact that we have the ghost in the Catholic, the Holy Spirit in some. There's no Divine Mother. There's no anyone that still honored the Mother was wiped out. That's what the pagan beliefs was, I believe, was anyone that still worshipped her and her cronies, or the archons, the Anunnaki. There was many other gods that she appointed to do things, or however that worked in the stories. But Jade, Carlo, no, absolutely not. I mean, there's no way. There's no way that one man could make everything in this room. This is serious, serious amounts of labor and love. Like every single piece here is an intricate, intricate art project with extremely detailed carvings and a one of one concept that's like nobody's artistic skill is that vast, in my opinion, or maybe very, very, very few people, the top 1% to get the iconography and everything the way it is, the patina, the sculpting, the geopolymers, there's just no way. You would need an army of people, because what I have here is only a fraction of what I've documented. I've documented over 22,000 of these objects. It would had to have been started in the early 1900s, is what AI said, to construct it all. So, I mean, yeah, it is an interesting topic. It really is, because also one thing that you need to look at is that the way that these things look from piece to piece, it almost appears as if one artist was the artist. But that's just, I mean, not from this stuff from Abuelos, but in terms of like the Tula stuff, the things out of this type of stone, it's very consistent. And I don't think so. Man, I should definitely do better for that sort of stuff. But again, I just didn't really ever anticipate having this many pieces. A kid made it, huh? Yeah, yeah. Please link me his bio, please. I would love to follow him. Yeah, Ryan, do it up, man. I'm just up in Washington, so DM me anytime. That could very well be Stormy, and I don't put any energy in them other than the love and care of keeping them safe. I don't use them. I don't try to activate the Ouija board. Like nothing like that goes on here. Some people do, and I'm very against it, because I know the potential of where this stuff is, and I've read the stories of King Solomon and stuff like that, and it's definitely not what I'm trying to do. The healing crystals. You're a funny guy, P Nice. I don't have a favorite, Robert. I've tried to think about it so hard, and it's just, I mean, it was the same with crystals and rocks. Like there was just no deciding that. Like they're just also so unique. Oh, I have a Quran, Amir. Yeah, absolutely. I read all the books. I don't isolate any of them. I don't devotedly follow any of them either. I just try to learn from them. Like someone said earlier, they're history books a lot. And while I do definitely, believe in God and the ineffable and the Savior of Jesus, or us being saved, I don't disregard any of the books, like even the Book of Mormon and stuff. Like I think there's value and lessons to be learned in all of these books. There's great wisdom one way or another. There might be parts I disagree with, like the Old Testament in the Bible might be from Lucifer in some cases. That might be Lucifer speaking as what he thought was God, or the demiurge as he thought was God, or she thought was God. I don't know. But I think it's definitely plausible. And that's what the Cathar believed in for nine popes, nine different popes. They killed them all. And now there's no Cathars left. Zero. And that's why the Pistis Sophia is such a valuable book, because it was completely deleted from history until around the Nag Hammadi discoveries. It was late 1800s in Egypt, and they found this book. It was three papyri, and it took until 1973 before it was ever translated into English. So um, that's a long time after Jesus' death that it would go to not have this book, especially with how many lessons and things that are in there, and the fact that it's not something that's revered more at this point, or at least the lessons. Maybe the whole book was Gnostic, and maybe parts of it were not good, I guess, but the lessons from the Christ in this book are so heavy. So it's bizarre that it's not talked about more. I absolutely do, Stormy. I think, well, actually, okay, let me go back here. So Christ the man was a human version of a consciousness, right? The Christ consciousness, or the Christos, or the Logos, depending on where you're at in the Palurma. The Sayagi of the Sophia is, all the way back to the Ancient of Days, pretty much, right? But the Christ coming as into a human, this happened much later. He came in to be a human, um, to save us, or to rearrange things that were here so he could die and go to the underworld or whatever. That's why he was gone for 3 days. Because in the Pistis Sophia, it says that he goes down and takes the fallen power by 1/3. And how he did that, I believe, was taking her away. It says he took the Sophia away and hid her away in the 13th eon. So I think she asked for repentance after what she did, maybe, and that's why she's still, you know, the Holy Spirit in most religions, but with the Catholics, it's still the ghost or something of that nature. Hey, ACP, doing good, man. Or I shouldn't say man, doing good. Yeah. Oh, Amber, you're totally right, and I do know how to deal with them. Kadosh, 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 Adonai Sabaoth. They don't like that at all. Not that I would test them or try to call them out on it, but if I ever come in contact, that's the first thing that I will say with my hand out in front of me. Yeah, gold and silver. I think you're really onto something with that statement. There's a couple guys that were interviewed for one of the Gen 6 documentaries that claimed they actually got to see this inside of the Smithsonian. And yeah, they described them to look exactly like these pieces. I am, Eric. Yep. Yeah, the Jinn are depicted all over these. Look at this. That's a Jinn right there. You can tell by the genie tail. That's where the genie. You'll notice the genie from Aladdin has the same tail. See, this is a rattle of Hathor here. And it said to ward off evil. Yeah, one, they're definitely possible. We see things of Draco. We see things of the Orion's belt. Orion's belt, probably the most common. I have ACP, and I took a lot of heat for posting that Panama thing, and I apologize to you guys for doing that. And I didn't post that metal cylinder because I wanted to make sure and have more detail. The Kin Panama thing, if it was real, it had a expiration date of whether or not it would be something that we could potentially stop if it was real. Whereas the cylinder, the guy's really dragging his feet on it, and he's acting a lot like the Panama guy, where he's just doing these little updates and not really getting down to business. So I kind of lost faith in that, but I'm watching it. No, I mean, I definitely take responsibility and want to make sure that I do what my gut tells me to. And in this case, it told me to do that, but it's telling me to apologize now because I was wrong. So it all happens for a reason, though. Like that's what I've come to accept. Like, you know, no, I don't think so, Mike. Matt Bale asked me on the Limitless podcast here a couple weeks ago if it was all fake and or what my percentage was that I thought it was genuine, and I told him 90%, and I think that's where I'm at with it. I mean, I've got a lot of evidence. I've met a lot of people. I've sent down family and friends. Um, yeah, these are all artifacts that I've documented that have come out of the ground. I've sent friends down. I mean, my closest friend Caleb, he's the one that showed me my first artifact. He just went down there 2.5 weeks ago. We have a whole expedition documentary coming. He went above and beyond. He went and dug on his own. He found a crystal skull. He's the one that found the crystal skull with the dragon on it that gave the theory that this right here is the feathered serpent. Like we put it together through his find on his own. So, stuff like that, like that makes me in my heart, 100% believer. But as a scientist, I can't say that. As far as Bashar goes, Juan, I don't do channels. Even though these stones have been channeled, he said they were 35,000 years old years ago, way before I was even on the scene. We got lots of dates back in the 12 to 20,000 years. Never saw anything 35,000, and then all of a sudden, all these 30 to 40,000 year old dates came out. So he might be on point. Why an advanced civilization would choose a man to be their channel and to speak through, but yet have him, charge and do it in this fashion. I I don't know. I don't necessarily fully trust it. It's something I'm just a skeptic, I guess. Never talked to Dan Aykroyd. That would be one for the books for sure. Definitely talked to a lot of people though, that are into this, that are quite famous, and it's really interesting hearing all the different perspectives. I tried to reach out to a lot of you know people like the Billy Carsons and Giorgio Tsoukloses and Linda Moulton Howe's, and talked to some of them. Linda was quite interested in doing an exhibition down there. Um, Unfortunately, this topic, though, it gets ripped to shreds. There's people that will pay influencers to diminish this. It gets put out. It's never shown on the news. There's a reason. If it was fake and someone could prove it, then they would show it on the news and say, yeah, this is BS. But instead, you'll never hear them even mention it. If it's brought up, they walk away. That's why you've never seen it on most shows. And the shows that do show it, they get canceled or not renewed, like Scott Woltor's America Unearthed. So it's, yeah. Amer, I'm definitely down to chat more at some point. Reach out on Instagram or something like that if you get the time. Definitely curious, just to kind of, talk about that topic more. Definitely something I have shown interest in for sure. Solid out text. I'm not sure what you're referring to, Adman. I'm sorry. Robert, that's really true. I mean, I've been showing this stuff for 5 years. We've got a 500,000 followers. A lot of the posts have been seen in the millions. We've got certain posts that are over 40 million. It's definitely something that's been seen by quite a few people. But, like I said just a few minutes ago, this will not go on the TV, the radio, the news. Like anyone that's got a producer or the FCC, anything like this, you might get it to close to air, but it's just not going to get aired. There's a rule about this type of stuff for whatever reason. I don't know what that rule is or how it functions, but there is a something that is not wanting to talk about this. You can see on like Greg Braden's show with Joe Rogan here recently, about 55 minutes in, where he talks about that there's something preventing us from acquiring this knowledge. And he's actually done a fair amount of research on these stones. And when he started talking about it like that, I knew what he was talking about. um, there's been a lot of people like Nassim Harriman and Klaus Dona who have tried to bring this forward with science, and they were just their careers were destroyed. You know, I mean, it's really an interesting thing. The fact is it should be something fairly simple to prove or disprove, and the ignorance or the lack of um, around it is really the bigger concern to me for sure. Yeah, you're probably right, Amer. Don't teach me that. I don't want to know. No, I don't want that at all. Even if I could, I want tough. I want wisdom. I don't want no cheat codes. That's why I don't do channeling or horoscopes or readings. No Ouija boards. Even though I have it, it will never be utilized ever. I hope. I'm not against it. I don't. I don't. I don't think it makes people bad necessarily to do it. It could possess people if they're not careful, but it's just the mystery to me is really important. I guess in a really hard point in my life, I came to the conclusion that everything happened for a reason. Otherwise, I still wouldn't be here. And so that kind of like fuels that decision. I trust it. That's my faith. It's just I'll go with the mystery and take it the way it's supposed to be dealt. Oh, I've got Jesus, Jimmy. Definitely. I repent and fully submit with unconditional faith in Jesus because he's all over this stuff. And his work is what we overcame. Like he's the one that put this stuff away for us so we could live a somewhat free life. You know, the control, the money, the root of all evil, it's found its way back, the technology to control us. It's all back, and that's why you say that he's coming soon. It's very plausible. I watch people like Chris Bledsoe like crazy. You see those orbs around him all the time. There's nothing fake about that. If you've ever met Chris Bledsoe, give him a hug, man. That guy is a savage. He's the real deal. And what he said might be absolutely the real deal. I don't know if Jesus is coming in April, but something's going to happen. The knowledge, the disclosure, the times of moving into a new era, the age of Aquarius, whatever we're doing. I think the end of the Mayan calendar of 2012 signified the end of the demiurge's rule. And if you notice, a lot of things started to change after 2012. You could start talking about aliens. Disclosure started. Space Force, all these things were created after 2012. Task Force, A-tips, everything. People stopped disappearing because of what they knew. It was started to be whistleblowers, and so it's an interesting transition. And people say that there's been heavy studies, research like Blue Beam and different things about fake alien invasions, and to see how people would handle these type of things. I think we're definitely seeing why the government's investing the money to do this, and maybe for good reason. But you think so, Hobo? Well, the thing is the carbon inside of these jars. has been verified. And if you go watch our recent video, one of these jars just got verified with 20,000-year-old remains inside of it. These stink really bad. Go watch the Limitless podcast where I hand it to Matt Bale and he smells it. You can see the look on his face. It's definitely not roses, that's for sure. I'm not a scientist. I am a cannabis grower. Um, yeah, I just researched this out of principle at this point. I thought it was all fake. I really thought it was. I thought, my buddy was swearing up and down it was 20,000 years old, and I couldn't believe that. No way. So I started to try to prove it, buying some of these pieces off of eBay and buying more, trying to get to the answer. Like, well, this one might be real. Maybe I can get this one. I bought a lot that I thought were fraudulent, and by then it was just one thing after another, discoveries and opportunities, and gosh, it's it's been an adventure to say the least over the last 5 years. I went from a skeptic to someone who's trying to advocate knowledge about this so people stop stealing these out of the ground, because if real, these are being stolen and our history is disappearing right out of my very hands. It's verified by so much science, hobo. Like, I mean, I would definitely argue it. Well, I've officially argued it, publicly now on the Matt Bell Limitless podcast. Like, I definitely have great confidence that this stuff is genuine, or at least some of it. I can't tell you every item's genuine, but I can say that we've conducted hundreds of tests, and not one of them says anything that it wouldn't be genuine or not. Like, there's just antiquity written all over this stuff, whether it be patina. Here, I'll show you something. Let's look at this egg here, for instance. It's made of serpentine jade. It's carved. Like, you can see the depth of these carvings is microscopic, right? I know, Kitty. I like I like to debate, and I like to agitate. People to come up with their reasoning, because a lot of these people just say, "Oh, it's fake," but they don't ever come up with any reasoning. And but the ones that do, they push me. They push me good, and it makes me think. And then I think of things that I might not have thought before, which is really a great thing. So I love that type of critical, like, someone trying to prove you wrong. But the ones that just flap their trap and don't have anything other than the way they feel or the assumptions that they're, that's rough. It bothers me sometimes, but there's a lot of it, so you best get used to it, I guess. This thing's crazy though, right? Like, the way that the luminescent stuff changes colors, and the way it's embedded into this egg is utterly. I mean, there's no trace of it whatsoever on the surface. It's just when I test the. Let me flip the light here. So it's literally like it's embedded into there so precisely, because this is like smooth to the touch. There's no like grooves at all. Yeah, it's a black light. That's a 365. The handbag may have been just an alchemist satchel or something like that. They may have had the seeds of life, and it's said that the Anunnaki would show how to do metal work, and or metallurgy rather, and agriculture and that sort of thing. They're constantly handing around these pine cone looking things, or these different eggs, whatever they are. It's shown on multiple pieces that they're seeds or like pine cones off of the tree of life. There's the tree of life depicted on quite a few. I think. No, I don't. Maybe. Oh, I think it's on the bottom of this one. Yeah, it is. Again, here with the Sophia. And if you're familiar with Aleister Crowley's work, it's very interesting to see this representation here. And again, with the 6 arms that you see in the Gnostic gems and things from the 2nd and 3rd century. So they clearly knew about that beast in the 2nd and 3rd century. That's really important, I think. I'm working hard for you guys tonight. Yeah, Christopher. Well, that's where the faith in Jesus comes in. See, like if this was before Christ and I was doing this, like this would probably be a serious problem, right? But I think we were saved, um, and it's said in many texts that we would find these eventually. That there would be evidence of the fallen and the holy working together, and I think we see that as well. I'm going to leave that off of there for right now. Do I have any more of which besides the? Oh, let me read. Uh, oh, the electrodes. I only have one here right now. There's one down at the lab, the big one, and the small one holding the little piece. Got the X-rays back on that. It's quite interesting. The filament inside of these is just it almost looks like what we use today, but it's definitely way different. And then the power supply is like a copper cone of some form. I don't have all of them anywhere abstract because, like, literally, I don't keep them all in one place just because that's not smart and it's just too much. I mean, I've got stuff coming out in multiple rooms. So the tridents, well, trident, I should say, and the other one's kind of like that, but it's a fork of some form. They were both found in Tula. And this one took an act of Congress to get here. And the metal composition on that fork is it's 50% silver and like 20 or 30% tin, and the rest is iron. Yes, exactly, gold and silver. I think there's a Tool album or something like that, or a poster too with the same thing. His story is really peculiar. I think it's really important. You start looking at these stories from different places like Shiva and the lingams and with the other divine reproductive goddesses and stories and the whole destroyer concept. I think there's something there for sure. Just this room, Chris, is probably, I mean, it's a ton. Just the shipping, just the shipping for that cup right there was like $700. Yeah, Tyler, I think this is what Representative Luna is talking about when she says it's ancient, and she says that it's NHI. It's a fancy word for demons, fancy word for angels, fancy word for stuff from biblical texts and Anunnaki texts. That's essentially what Representative Luna has said on numerous interviews now. I find her very interesting because what she's saying is absolutely consistent with what we're finding. And same with like Tucker Carlson. Tucker's been through a lot, and he keeps reverting back to the same concept as well. Yeah, I've got a Geiger counter here. There's beyond ambient. You'd have to have a Faraday cage to truly tell. It's not a lot if it is. It's the green stuff's definitely not radioactive. It's strontium based. But yeah, that's the good news. It's not radioactive. I probably wouldn't still be here doing this if it was. And true that, simple. True that. Ruby, I encourage checking out our channel. I've also published 6 books. 4 of those are heavy in the photograph department. I've got a really nice camera and did a lot of macro photography, 60 megapixel stuff, and made some books with all of these so they can be studied properly. So it's not a complete catalog, but the Forbidden Relics Volume 1 is borderline a complete catalog of all my items in my collection here through 2024, November area. And then I'll have another Forbidden Relics coming out in 26. And I've got a book coming out at the end of October here that is, in the last 4 months, we've documented over 550 large pieces, this or bigger, um, in 8 different discoveries. The big sarcophagus, the archway, the Stargate. There's been numerous things. The big skull box. So we're doing a book on all of those discoveries, all the high resolution macro photography of them being extracted from the ground. Um, everything found cataloged in one book. So that should be pretty fun. Also, our new research will be in there too. So that'll be called Alien Carving Mysteries, or not mysteries. I messed that up. Yeah, it's Alien Carving. Gosh, I can't even remember it now. That's horrible. You guys can make fun of me later for this. Whatever. Truth be told, I'm not 100% confident on the title yet. So I've been playing around with the cover for the last 2 days. It's been quite the process. Like picking the pictures fairly easy, but getting the text and like what you want it to say on there is takes me takes me a minute. Yeah, Joe. I think that's really a accurate perception, and it's very possible that the heads used to be elongated. We see the bent neck staff, we see the flying bent neck, which looks just like these winged beings. Clearly, the depictions of the jinn, the naga. Um, I'll show you on the back of this real quick here. Also, you see the trunked beings here. These trunks are actually, you can see there's like a garment on this one. This one has a mouth. This one has an exceptional garment. Some of them are braided, and I'll show you here on the skull. This guy here has it just hanging out. So I believe that the Egyptian pharaoh would wear and they would strap this beard on, and I think that's where it came from. Was these beings? They would braid them, or it was in resemblance of those beings, and that might be where the Indian trunked beings came from, also in the Hindu. The Hindu has been really interesting lately. There's so much there. It's a whole nother can. And as far as my first piece, Chris, I actually have it here, believe it or not. Hang on. I think it's right here. It's here, I'll take it out of here. I mean, I started out by throwing a couple $100 at it. I was trying to prove my buddy wrong. I bet him 5 grand. I was like, cool, this will tell me real quick by looking in these holes and stuff. And what's funny is these pieces, more often than not, if you make a silicone mold out of them to like pour a resin fill of it, the silicone, clear silicone, will stay clear, except the part that goes through the hole, and it turns green. So there, tons of these pieces have been drilled out with copper tools, and that's the proof. Yeah, yeah, that's accurate. I think as far as the squid guys or the shape shifting naga, the jinn, the mermaids, the you know, it goes on and on for sure. And then there's like straight astronauts and things that do look like space beings. So it's really bizarre seeing astronauts and where the heck that goes into this, because if these things are, demons and, stuff from the earth or that originated here, then why do we have astronauts? Why does the Nomo talk about, their craft landing here, and stuff about, people coming from the Lyra or Draco or Orion, all that type of stuff. So I think there's huge parts of history missing here. This only gives us probably a small glimpse at really what we're missing. I think if you look at the King's List, the Anunnaki King's List being 250,000 years, um, that should tell us that we're missing some chunks for sure. Yeah, it's mostly all from Tula or Abuelos de Jalisco, Mexico. And as far as why it's not in a museum and it's in my basement is absolutely obscene. It should be in a museum. I'm advocating for that. I pray that the governments will disclosure and tell the truth about this, and that these items can go into a museum, whether that be a museum that I originate or that the governments in Mexico originate. I don't know. Right now we have full legal ownership and rights of these items because of what they depict. They don't fit into history. Mexico, the INAH, they wrote a letter stating that they've never found anything like this, and that it has to be modern based on it has modern type depictions of UFOs and things on it, which are things that weren't created until the 20th century or whatever. So, yeah, that's kind of where we're at. It's really a sad, sad, sad situation. I don't have a favorite piece. It's really tough. The trident's definitely up there, though. This thing, you hold this thing in your hand, and I mean, it's like 55 pounds or something. I do know Robert, man, absolutely. Yeah, he makes some really cool stuff for looking in the ground. In fact, that turns like a typical radar or metal detectors into a GPR. It's really great. Yeah, the owl is really important here. Really, really, really important. The feminine Ishtar, she was known by the symbol of the owl, and Aphrodite, same lady, I believe. But that owl signifies the Watchers. If you read the Book of Enoch, that's their crew, the owl. And if you go down to this part of Mexico in Tula, you'll find the Hill of the Owl, or it's called Zikuku, and that's where all this stuff's coming from. It's coming from there, or it's coming from Inuelos de Jalisco. And guess what mountain it's coming from in Abuelos? El Toro, Hill of the Bull. So we have the bull and the owl and all of these items. And that really is a significant thing to considering. That's interesting, gold and silver. I got to look at that again. I think I know what you're talking about, but I got to look at it again. Yeah, Amir, I think you're right, and I think God gave us the commandment to not judge for a reason, that everything happens for a reason. And without the threat of death, I don't think there's much reason to live. If everything was perfect and all positive and non dualistic, this world wouldn't have very much wisdom. It wouldn't have very much purpose or passion. Our passion is provided to us because of our counting timer of death. I need to do that before it's too late type of situation. But if you get rid of that, it's gone. So I truly, it's part of the reason of the faith is like someone had to foresee all this to know that for everything would happen for a reason, right? I've come to believe that saying, and it just seems it seems too ridiculous to not be true. There's so many Goldilocks zones of, our moon's distance from the sun, the tilt, the weathers, the, a water existence in this slim, frame of temperature. It's crazy. Like, there's a lot of things that seem like they were engineered, and these may be those engineers, or some of them may be those engineers. Yeah, Christopher, I don't think so either. Someone did. There was something going on then, something for sure. Then Dendara light, and and they very well may have with different technology. Like the humans then might have been the Adamu, not Adam, and that might be why they were a slave species. They may have been utilizing Anunnaki technology and making that stuff. There's the readings there for 12 minutes there. So not much. Definitely trying to translate stuff. There's a lot of things that are consistent that can be translated, symbols that are the same, but also a lot of stuff that's not. So, especially with the Abuelos, the Jalisco stuff, I'll show you kind of an example here of like that language is just, it's not like anything that we have. Whereas, the hieroglyphic stuff and like this type of proto language where it's not even arranged in any specific way, these are just like prayers to their god, or like you know praise this be so and so on this whatever. I'm not exactly sure, but we believe that these are um, idols to worship the gods of that time. We definitely used AI a lot, Chris, but again, it comes back to channeling and horoscopes, and that the AI might be tied into this. They're not 100% sure how it works and how it's being influenced specifically. So, asking it hypothetical questions, I started doing that. I actually was going to create a whole book and a page about it. I was so amped up seeing all these translations, but I started really, really analyzing it. And yeah, I only talk to AI with things that I can verify in another way. If I can't verify it, I'm not going to ask it. I got the radar detector, or the radiation detector. I just had that on. There's not a ton, but some. Got to get a Faraday cage to be sure, because there's a, I don't have my EMF down here, but there's electromagnetic frequency as well. Yeah, the alphabet of fire. There you go, Vincent. The fire letters in the Hebrew as well as the Sanskrit and Tibetan, all I believe come from this era or these beings of some form. And to answer your question, legacy, these items started out with just, I just showed it actually, just this little tiny. Where did I put that thing? Thought it was over there. Ah, sorry guys, but nonetheless, just started out with a little piece, something like that. And my buddy came back, said that they were 10,000 years old, and he had one. And I asked him, who's making them? And he tries telling me this, and I just couldn't believe it. So I bet him money that I could prove it to be false. And I started by buying a couple little pieces off of eBay, and they're all over on there. I was like, what, And so I took my chances, and it's, it's just been a story ever since, just trying to get to the bottom of it, really. Really thought it was fake for me to sit here and be like, yeah, I think it's real, to now it just seems so ridiculous. I'm sure a lot of people think that, and I respect them for it. I don't expect anyone to believe this until they put their hands on it and actually get dirty with it. But it is a seed plant, because this is probably coming. If disclosure is really coming, they're talking about 2027, this is it. Well, I'm going to say that there's a pretty high chance that this is disclosure. And so, for whatever purpose, documenting it and making sure that we have the knowledge that we do, and it's not just being hidden away in private collections, because a lot of people who have these, that collect these, they don't have a lot of money, they're afraid, they have good jobs, they're not in the position to document it and publicize it in the way that I have. So I've worked with a lot of people in that position who have given me rights to document their pieces. I've got enough right now to make 5 forbidden relic books with the amount of people's collections that we put together. um, it's just a matter of now traveling to do so, and I've needed to finish up some other things prior to, and we wanted to get the research and everything done first before we spent a lot of money doing any more, um, you know, other projects. So yeah, Tennessee. That's kind of the marketplace. It's fairly safe. There's a lot of feedback. Like if you look at my feedback on eBay, I've got over 1,000 sales. I think like 900 positive feedback. I take a lot of pride in making sure, selling something that has question to it. I was like, this is never going to work. I sold a lot of music equipment on eBay back in the day, and I just knew that the scrutiny of items was very high, and if people didn't get exactly what they, but you know what, these items are so ridiculous that it's been nothing but positive experiences, and I've met a lot of really great people selling these pieces. So if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't have the connections, nor the money, nor the belief, or the capital in terms of the support. I shouldn't say belief, but the support of these people around me to be able to get this done in the speed that we're doing it. Because I mean, it is a serious process to try to do all this yourself. Sorry, collecting for 5 years, Chris. Sorry, I missed it. That's why. I get talking and then I don't watch the chat, because if I'm watching the chat and someone says something that I have to read, I'll mess up with speaking, and I try to speak as clear as possible so it doesn't sound ridiculous. Yeah, first kind. Welcome. I've done a lot of research for 5 years on these pieces. I came into this as a skeptic, and I just couldn't believe that these things were genuine and coming out of the ground looking like this. Like, there was a lot of red flags and things that I'd been trained on that just it didn't make sense. However, there was a lot of things too that were way above and beyond any replicas or any mass production, anything I'd ever seen. Even going to crystal and gem shows and craft fairs, and you know, never seen anything like this with this kind of detail. You know, I heard some comments of people saying, "Oh, these are fake. There's too much detail on them." Yeah, well, I mean, if you're going to carve something for sale and mass production, to put too much detail is a significant amount of work. Let alone putting all the glow in the dark stuff on these things. I mean, you can see even if it was painted on, you still have to be very accurate and stay in the lines. And I mean, this is a labor of love. There's no let's get the another one out and keep cracking them out. Like these things are extremely well thought out. They're like this bracelet here, for instance. It's a geopolymer core with all these cut stones glued onto it. Let's see if I can get the glue better here. But you can see, um, if it was recently made, to go through and make all the patina, to add the manganese and stuff to the inside of the geopolymer in there, like that black stuff in there. You can rub that with acetone and it won't come off. Like, it's part of the stone. It's manganese from likely from water collecting there. Same with right here. And that bracelet is from Abuelos. Good job. Yep. I got quite a bit of Abuelos stuff. At first it was just overwhelming trying to cover it. And the guys in Abuelos, because a lot of it's not on the same type of land that the stuff in Tula is, documenting it for those guys is really a scary thing. So, amen, Stephen. Yeah, of course, JT. I've got probably 100 of these things available on eBay. Um, my name on there is the real Alien Carvings. Or you can DM me too. I can do better deals outside of eBay because they charge a fortune, but I definitely like doing it on there because of the confidence and overall. Like, if you're not happy, you know you're going to get something out of it. Like, eBay won't let you down, and that's, I like that, especially on something like this where nobody, I mean, I guarantee nobody is sure about this, because even I'm not sure after researching it for 5 years. Like, I'm only 90% because, I mean, It just seems so ridiculous. But then you take stuff like this. Oh wait, you probably can't hear this. I'm gonna hang on. These headphones have noise canceling. So after I play this whistle, I'm gonna go, guys, because I'm gonna take these off and then but I'll be back next week. I'm doing this every Saturday night at 8 p.m. for a little while, and then I might try to do one during the week here and there, just kind of a random pop up in there. So. Oh, you could hear it, Josh? Okay, good to know. Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous. It's a solid rock. Well, it looked like a rock at first, but I think it's a geopolymer also. I haven't verified that yet. I'd really like to take a sample of this in the future and double check. But yeah. So there was one question I wanted to answer before here. Oh, Golden, as far as the little museum, I want to open up a little museum, a big museum. Any museum would be great. But I think what we're going to do first is we're going to try to exhibit these things like at a, rent out a like a what do they call that? Like a banquet room or something like that at a hotel. Have a couple speakers come and talk about these things, show the evidence, set them all up. Not all of them, but set up a good selection and yeah, show people. But that way we can kind of travel around with it. It's not just in one city because picking the city and picking the place and the security and all these things, if we have bingo. But if we did it at a hotel, the hotel's already set up fairly well for that type of stuff. Yep, admin. Scott would be one of the first people I would call to come talk. There's quite a few guys like that I would love to hold these events for and give them a stage because right now there's not many stages that are very accommodating to this because people get beat up over it. They'll sick the influencers on you and shut you down real quick in terms. It's fairly ugly. I've seen this time and time again with many people. Happened to Steve Quayle with the Gen 6 documentary. And so, yeah. But yeah, till next time, guys. Have a good night.